people, Ramadan is a very busy time, and we try to plan ahead, and we have these ideals of how we're going to spend our Ramadan, and sometimes it works out and we achieve everything we've set out to. Sometimes we struggle to get to where we want to be spiritually and, within our connection with Allah. But at the moment, there are still days left, there is still time left. Anything that you haven't had chance to do in the last 3 weeks, we still have just under a week left. So just, make some fresh new goals, make them achievable, make them manageable, even if it's something small like learning one ayat or one simple dua that you didn't know, or perhaps the translation of a dua that you didn't know, and just reap the rewards of the last week, inshallah. So here we are, the last Sister Circle this year, this Ramadan, with myself, Sister Amanah, and also my co-host, Sister Julie. Assalamu alaikum, Julie.
Walaikum salam.
How are you, Julie?
Alhamdulillah, I'm all right. Sitting in the corner.
Sitting in the corner. In the naughty corner. Hey?
Oh, I was in the naughty corner, yeah.
So here we are. This is our last show this year. And any advice you'd like to give our listeners on how to make the most of maybe it's the last week?
Yeah, well, I think it's, even if you haven't reached the goals that you because we all set ourselves lofty goals, don't we?
We do.
We think we can do this, we can do that. But
I think it's a female thing as well.
No, it's just a people thing.
Is it a people thing? Okay.
We always overestimate what we're going to be able to do. But the fact that you planned it, I think, is rewardable, and then
the intention
and the attention that you were going to do it, and also any effort you have put in, even if you don't feel like you've reaped the reward or made the progress you thought you were going to make, you've struggled anyway, and there's reward in that. So I think we absolutely, there's time left. It's the last 10 days of Ramadan, and it's the finish is always the finish gives you that greater reward, doesn't it? But also that we can the reward is over the whole month. So yeah, just don't be so hard on yourselves.
So I think lovely advice, by the way, mashallah. But I think the ultimate thing probably to remember now is, regardless of what's happened from the start of Ramadan to here, there is still an opportunity to finish strong.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Isn't it? So that should be everyone's motto in the next week. Whatever's happened has happened, but there is still an opportunity to finish strong and reap the rewards of the last week that's remaining, inshallah.
Indeed.
So last week we talked about the history of Islamic medicine.
We did.
And this week we're going to cover the future of Islamic medicine, and both are sort of obviously equally important, because the journey of Islamic medicine, for anyone who didn't catch the show last week, we talked about how obviously medicine existed pre-Islamic times, but then obviously once Islam came and we had specific ayats revealed in the Quran, and we had specific traditions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then we had obviously people that came after that and helped explain what those meant and how to actually put that into practice properly. And then obviously today we're going to bring that up until present times, and then look beyond where we are today, and where does Islamic medicine have a place in our future. And obviously we discussed last week about how a lot of natural medicine, holistic medicine, or as it's called sometimes, alternative medicine, which is quite probably
medicine,
it's not the correct term to call it alternative medicine. It's the original medicine.
Yeah, it's just medicine
before allopathic medicine came. You know, and obviously, we explained last week there is a place in the world for both. Which is really important to know. But what we do need to do is we need to hang on to everything that comes from the Quran and from the Sunnah.
Absolutely.
And obviously Islamic medicine is one of those things. And it's one of those things that we don't always give full priority to, because we're too busy learning the how to pray, how to get khushu in our prayer, how to the different elements of the 5 pillars. Maybe we're busy learning tajweed, So we don't always think about some of the bigger aspects that still come within our boundaries of Islam. And Islamic medicine is definitely one of those things that not everybody is able to give focus to. However,
there's a lot of the thing within Islam is that there's a lot of it.
There's a lot of it. And this is obviously one aspect, but it's as long as as a community, as long as within our community we have somebody that can, someone that can do, say, woodwork, someone that can build a building, someone that knows how to do things with animals, somebody that knows how to do something with health, somebody that knows how to do some maths, somebody who can read and write. As long as there is somebody within the community that can do these things as a collective whole, will be okay.
That's the thing, isn't it? Not everyone can be good at absolutely everything. And there is also proficiency in speciality as well, isn't there? So the more that you kind of deep dive into a very small area, then you get much better at it. And the more you do it, the better you get at it as well.
Absolutely. It's just a case of we do need people.
Yeah, we do.
Within our community to focus not just on allopathic medicine, but to focus on Islamic medicine as well. And there's no reason why, I guess, somebody with the knowledge of allopathic medicine couldn't extend to Islamic medicine as well, or alternative medicine, whichever way you want to go. Not everything about alternative medicine exists within Islamic medicine. It's quite specific.
It is.
But obviously the key to a balanced and healthy physical body is to overall live an active and virtuous life, conforming to the teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, the strong believer is more loved by Allah than the weak one, but there's benefit in both. And this hadith demonstrates the importance of taking good care of your body, keeping it fit, healthy, and strong, as a strong body holds the potential for a powerful soul and a sound personality and a wise intellect. The strong believer is more loved by Allah than the weak one. A strong believer can do more. They can perform more of their Islamic duties. They can perform more of the acts of Islam. Somebody who can, for example, go and perform, say, Hajj or Umrah, and can do it physically on foot.
Yeah, because it's not an easy task, is it?
It's a very different experience to somebody who may need some type of assistance, either a wheelchair or somebody to walk with them, or some type of walking aid. May need to rest a lot more, and
the exhaustion involved if you're not as physically fit as you possibly could be to go on something like Hajj and Umrah. The exhaustion means that you don't maybe get the enjoyment out of it. You do it, but there's an enjoyment to be had from being able to do it with ease or more ease.
Yeah. Because then the focus obviously would be on doing the correct du'as or something like that, not thinking how much further is left, this hurts, that hurts, and so on. And obviously it's not just a physical strength, it's mental strength to be able to, how many du'as do you have to know, how many, obviously we can take books and we can read from them, that's no problem, but to be able to know everything in your mind is so much different than to have to rely on reading from a book. And like this ayat says, there's benefits in both, but as you said, the experience of being able to easily, physically and mentally do it, and not have to rely on aids, whether it's books, whether it's a wheelchair or something like that, and people who perhaps are regular with, say, their Hajj and their Umrah, as they get old, they will notice that deterioration of the mind and of the body from when they were younger and could perform it with that more ease. They could probably give us more advice than somebody who's young, fit and healthy doing it for the first time. But obviously, to be strong, this requires looking after the body. It requires looking after the mind. This is where the Islamic medicine comes in, not just for history, but for us today and for the future as well. And, Islam teaches us many ways to protect and empower and preserve our bodies, both through preventative measures and abstinence from things that can cause us harm, and then the ability to seek medical advice when needed. Things that cause us harm, for example, smoking deteriorates the lung capacity, alcohol deteriorates the mental capacity, this type of thing. And Islam says, stay away from it. It's not good for you.
Yeah.
Because it would hinder our progress as human beings. It hinders our progression as Muslims. It hinders the amounts of good deeds we can accumulate and perform correctly. So the teachings of Islam are not for olden days. There are some religions people will argue and say, well, Christianity it's an old religion and it was written for all people in all times. And Islam isn't that. Islam was written.
Well, the detractors will always say that, it's anything that was established, some hundreds of years ago will be the same. Well, that's where it belongs. But Muslims can significantly argue that that's not the case.
You could, for example, if a human being wrote a book and said this is the best way to tend to your farmer's fields, and it was written in the 1500s, for example, that information might not be as accurate today, because obviously technology has moved on, times have moved on, and
completely superseded, won't it?
The land has changed, the climate has changed, people have changed.
Yeah.
But the Quran wasn't written.
Changed,
The Quran wasn't written by a human that only lived in that moment. The Quran was obviously written by Allah that knew the progression of his
and it's still as relevant, isn't it?
He knew when he made Adam. He knew at that point, this is the beginning, but I also I know the end.
Yeah.
I know how it's gonna the journey that process is going to take, and therefore this instruction manual, which is our Quran, that I'm leaving with you, will cater for that entire journey of mankind from the first to the last. So we don't have to worry about, this information is old, or it was, Islamic medicine was because allopathic medicine didn't exist, or anything like that. It's for the whole of time. The whole of time.
Well, that's it, isn't it? You do find some things in the Bible that people have to update it, because that's what they were saying then, and that's what it means for us today. And that's always their opinion, of course, but you don't have to do that with the Quran. The Quran is as relevant off the page. You don't have to have an intermediary to say, well, that's what it meant then, but this is what it means now, which is that's the huge difference between the two texts. Well,
obviously with the Bible, this is a man-written book.
It's basically a biography, isn't it?
It's a man-written book. The nearest comparison you could say is that it's similar to perhaps some of this, like how the Sunnah is made. It's the actions and the sayings, and it's been recorded by men. Whereas the Quran is the direct word of Allah, come through Angel Gabriel to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we can argue with books written by men, but we can't argue with books written by Allah. Allah even challenges us, doesn't he? He says, if you can write even an ayat, if you can even write an ayat even that compares to the ayat that I wrote, come and do it. Come and do it. All you men together, all you jinn together. If you can even compete with me, do it. And no one has. No one has. And they've tried, but they can't. There's no comparison.
Laughable and ridiculous, weren't they, the attempts?
But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that there's a cure for every disease, and if a medication overcomes a disease, then the patient is cured by the will of Allah. He also said, ask Allah for forgiveness and health, for after faith nothing is better than health. Because again, to practice your faith you need health.
Yes.
So it's so important. But look into the future, and I'm going to really look to the future now. Really, really look to the future.
Really.
Okay. So we might visualize long-term things like flying cars, or the opportunity to live on Mars, colonies on other planets.
Well, believe it or not, that tomorrow the Starship that's supposed to be part of the SpaceX's thing to go to Mars is scheduled. Well, it's his first. That's the date that they can start doing the tests from, so that we may get a launch tomorrow.
Okay. I wasn't even aware of that, but okay.
Well, there you go. Yes, just hot off the press.
So there we go. Right in tune with what I'm saying. Other things, for example, the emergence of AI into the human world. They're all kind of futuristic concepts, but each of those concepts requires a really good level of knowledge, planning, preparing, scientific data, tests, as you've just mentioned there, trials, amending and adjusting. These things don't happen overnight. They take so much brain power, teams and teams and teams of people to make these future developments happen. However, what's interesting to note that while different countries around the world, different teams here and there, they're all planning things like flying cars and, like you say, tomorrow
trips to
Mars, and we do next weekend. I'm off to Mars for the weekend. They're planning this. However, what the world is also doing is that they have built several underground bunker-style safe vaults worldwide, designed to withstand a Armageddon-style event.
Yeah.
Or World War 3, 4, 5, however many come. And do you know what they filled them with?
Seeds.
Yes. Not rockets, not flying cars, seeds.
Yeah.
Seeds. One of the most kind of basic forms of life that we have on the planet.
Yeah.
Seeds. Why seeds? Because seeds equal plants equal natural medicines.
Yeah. Well, that's the evidence, I suppose, from the historically, if they look at things like ice ages, that there was like mass extinctions, and I think it's maybe a way to protect from mass extinctions. And of course, they worry about the old asteroids now, don't they? That there's you just made that face, didn't you?
Well, the thing is, we obviously have, and this isn't.
These are extinction events that have happened.
This isn't permitted within Islam, but we have kind of the soothsayers, don't we, that predict these.
The ends of the world.
Nostradamus and
yes.
Quite locally, Mother Shipton.
I know. I've spent I think there's been. I recall that there's been about 5 or 6 kind of predicted ends of the world that I can recall,
including millennia.
Yeah, and I do keep saying very facetiously that I ought to start putting them in my diary, because I seem to have missed the last lot of them. But yeah.
But do you remember Millennium, the year 2000, where
it was
everything was going to stop?
It was the Millennium Bug, wasn't it? Yeah.
Everything electrical was going to shut down.
Yeah. And it went to like midnight and a second, and nothing happened.
Yeah. But that was meant to be the end of the world as well, wasn't it?
People.
But obviously, they have these huge vaults, and like I said, they have them all around the world, and it was a collective decision to do them. And they made sure that within each vault went the seeds of everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And it's quite interesting to, like I said, in one part of the world, they're planning for the future of, I mean, I don't know how much you remember, but when I was in my teens, and there were films out at the time, and in these films there was the cartoon, for example, called The Jetsons, and it was about this futuristic family where they had flying things,
flying everything,
and they had video calling, rather than obviously which is what we all have now on our mobile phones. We can video call, we can conference call all and see each other. But the Jetsons were predicting this back in the 1990s.
Or about Star Trek. What was that? That was there was sort of hand communicators and stuff, and like mobile phones aren't that far away from it.
There's so many, isn't there? There's so many where you'd watch something and think, oh my goodness, imagine if that really happened. And then we're starting to see those things come into play. And the films that are out now are kind of showing, like I say, things like flying cars and trips to Mars and stuff. And as you mentioned, there's the start of that trip to Mars. It could be tomorrow. So it's the one part of the world is planning for this futuristic development, but then the other part of the world is burrowing seeds and planning for the opposite side as well, because there has to be recognition that technology cannot do everything. Technology cannot save everything. The advancement of technology is good in one sense, but it can only take us so far.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, the reason they're collecting these seeds together, it's I suppose it's like, there are so many species of both plants and animals that have become extinct because of unpredictable things, and also and things that people have done deliberately, and that things have become extinct, and things that people have done without malice but couldn't foresee the consequences of what they were doing, because no one can foresee the consequences, because it's a very complicated system, isn't it? And you know, things can go catastrophically wrong, and you need it's a backup, isn't it, that they've got there in case something like that happens. Yeah.
The thing is, if an apocalyptic event occurred, now something like a pharmaceutical factory could be destroyed quite easily and completely inoperable. Even if it remained, it would require a whole lot of fuel to operate it, and then the centers who provide that energy and that fuel to them, they would need to be operable as well.
Oh yes.
The pipes and stuff that carry that energy from the energy company to the factory would need to be in obviously intact, and then you'd need manpower to run the pharmaceutical factory making the stuff. You'd need manpower at the gas company making sure that the gas was coming in and being distributed to where it needed to be. All those things during an apocalyptic event would still need to be functionable, which is not likely.
No.
You know, so you know, that's a very big chain of a lot of companies, buildings and resources and people all needed in good working order, just to keep producing something like paracetamol, for example. It's an awful lot of things required to make that tablet. But if we add to the drama a little bit more and imagine that all pharmaceutical factories didn't survive an apocalyptic event, but all the best doctors, or more importantly, the allopathic doctors, survived, they'd have no tools, they'd have no treatments, they'd have no medicines.
They'd be scrabbling around going like, what did we used to do?
So you'd have the best brains in the world, but they wouldn't have the access
to
the facilities to be able to do it. So if we have seeds that are being put away in these Armageddon-style vaults, we have medicine.
Yep.
We have medicine. No factory needed. We have medicine. We just need a seed. And that resource chain is so much shorter with natural medicine, with Islamic medicine. You would typically need someone who knew how to plant and grow vegetation from a seed. You would need somebody with holistic knowledge. You would need somebody who knew how to prescribe it. And that would be it. And you would be able to make holistic treatments, because the thing is with holistic medicines, with Islamic medicines in particular, that they're handmade. And they're handmade by natural means, such as grinding, steaming, boiling, pickling, mixing. They don't need special gadgets. They don't need, you know, a lot of fuel or anything like that. The fuels they do need are quite small, like you can kindle a fire with some, you know, with some material or with some wood. And this is the reason that natural medicine options like Islamic medicine, and before it the Ayurvedic medicine systems, have not only lasted through history up until today, but inshallah will actually see us through into the future as well, because of their simplicity, and their ability to survive. Because whatever era you look at through history, nature has been there. There's never been an element of history where nature hasn't been there, because nature is our medicine cabinet ultimately.
I suppose because you're looking at what we've got at the moment as far as the, you know, the pharmacology and treatments that are available. They're first world treatments, aren't they? So you have to be in a first world condition for it to be available. You know, the hospitals have to have power. You have to have MRI scans and, you know, abilities to use electron microscopes and have labs that work amazing, you know, do amazing things with chemicals and compounds. But if you're not in a first world situation, it all goes out the window, doesn't it?
It does. You know, actually, I remember talking to my neighbor. Now, my neighbor's a GP, and before her father was a GP as well. And she said to me that he got to such a level in his practice that he was able to look at a patient and in most cases be able to know what was wrong with the patient. Whereas her level of doctorism required, right, let's check the bloods, let's check an x-ray, let's do these things, because this is how the times are changing. So they're requiring the use of these new technical inventions to either confirm or determine or double check what the doctor perhaps is, you know, thinking it may be. But her father had that ability in most cases to be able to look at the patient and tell. And this is the skills behind Islamic medicine and people who practice Islamic medicine and natural medicine, is that they can look at the patient.
Wow. Sorry about the noise, guys.
They can look at a patient. They can look at a patient's eyes. They can look at a patient's nails. They can look at their hair. They can look at the skin condition.
Yeah.
They can look at what that person is excreting, what that person is eating. You know, they can look at a lot of these things and determine health.
Yeah.
Whereas, as you said, if the hospitals were destroyed and the current doctors didn't have access to these thermal imaging, these blood test results and stuff like that, would they still have the same skill set to be able to help?
I think, it's because it's all about, how long a doctor spends with a patient, isn't it? So it's very easy to get a blood test that a doctor wouldn't necessarily do and get the results from that. In order to sit a patient in front of you and be able to diagnose from the patient's symptoms and signs without having knowledge of the chemistry within the patient's blood or, imaging inside the body, that'd take a while. You'd have to actually sit and have a conversation with a person and interact with that person, and the appointments don't run like that, do they?
They don't now, no, unfortunately.
That's the thing, isn't it?
But initially they did.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think that's where that skill of this GP's father's come from. Is that you have to have the time to have your conversation with your patients and know your patients. Whereas now it's all about, this is that test, that's that test. Take this tablet, off you go.
But that's the difference, isn't it? And this is why our Islamic medicine is really important, that that we both preserve Islamic medicine, because Islamic medicine ultimately is going to preserve us. And, we have to go forward with that notion. And there are actually, within Islamic medicine, there are 3 key features moving forward into the future that are quite important that we look after in order for, in turn, Islamic medicine to be able to look after us. But what we'll do is we will go to a quick ad break first, and then we will come back and we will look at them three key points about how Islamic medicine needs us to do these 3 things for Islamic medicine, so that Islamic medicine in turn can look after us. So please stay tuned while we take a small ad break, and we'll be back with you shortly, inshallah.
CVFM Ramadan Live.
Are you in need of a reliable property agent who can guide you through the complexities of the housing market? Look no further than Ashbrooks, based in the heart of Middlesbrough, with coverage extending throughout Teesside. Our experienced owners and management have over 30 years of combined wisdom in residential and commercial sales, letting and property management. We specialize in providing a hassle-free and smooth experience for our clients. As an independent agency, our focus is on forming lasting relationships with our clients. Our prices are competitive, and we promise to match our fees and to deliver superior service. At Ashbrooks, our customers always come first. You can trust us to provide you with a first-class service. To learn more about what we can offer you, visit our branches located at 124 Trindon Avenue, Acklam, and 134 Linthorpe Road, Middlesbrough, or check out our website www.ashbrooks.co.uk. Telephone 01642 213 213. Ashbrooks, your all-round property specialists.
This Ramadan, give your zakat and sadaqah in the name of Allah. With SKT Welfare, your donations transform lives, helping children go to school, providing safe water, protection in a safe haven home, and relieves hunger. For over 10 years, SKT Welfare has maintained a 100% policy, 100% zakat, 100% sadaqah, 100% lillah, 100% trust. Donate now on sktwelfare.org or call 0300 30 20 786.
वतन कंटिनेंटल फूड स्टोर, जिसके मचे हैं हर तरफ शोर। वतन कंटिनेंटल फूड स्टोर रोजाना ताजा सब्जियां, फल फ्रूट, दालें, मसाले, तेल और चावल, ताजा हलाल गोश्त, चिकन, मछली, गोया, हर चीज की खरीदारी के लिए एक ही नाम याद रखिए, वतन कंटिनेंटल फूड स्टोर, 2630 नॉर्थ कोर्ट स्ट्रीट, स्टकटन, TS18 3JB, 01642 649 400। खानों में लज्जत चाहिए तो वतन फूड स्टोर में आइए। वतन कंटिनेंटल फूड स्टोर।
craving some delicious fish and chips? Look no further than Fridays. We're proud to say that we serve probably the best halal fish and chips in Middlesbrough. At Fridays, we're passionate about great tasting food and excellent customer service. That's why we fry each piece of fish to order using only the freshest ingredients and pure vegetable oil. And with our 5-star hygiene rating and online ordering system, you can trust that your food will always be fresh and ready for you to pick up. So why wait? Visit us today at 11 Parliament Road, Middlesbrough, TS1 4JU, or order online at fridayschippy.co.uk. Don't forget to use our convenient click and collect system to get your food cooked fresh and ready for you to enjoy.
सलाम जनाब, अल मुस्तफ़ा सेंटर के बिल्कुल करीब पार्लियामेंट रोड पर फ्राइडेज फिश एंड चिप्स 100% हलाल ये खुल चुकी है। आप आएं और आजमाएं और ट्राई करें।
ओ चेयरमैन साहब इस छकड़े की स्क्रब करो कुछ चंगी जी गड्डी लवो
जरा तू भी दस सस्ती ते चंगी गड्डी कुथों लपसी
तुसी जाओ कार एंड वैन सेंटर च
ओए ता अपने भोले ने मुड़े ने शोरूम ना मैं हुनी जुलिया
ओ एक गल मैं तुसें की दसे इन्हां ने एक शोरूम नहीं इन्हां ने त्रै शोरूम ने
carsandvans.com, the name you can trust for affordable used cars and vans. With 3 sites across Middlesbrough, we are confident you'll find your dream car with us. Whatever your budget, there is something for everyone. With vehicles from £1,000 to £15,000. All our vehicles come with a MOT, a service, a complimentary valet and a warranty, so you can buy with confidence. Visit us online to check out our latest stock, carandvans.com. We are located at Sotheby Road, Middlesbrough, on the junction of Cargafleet Lane. Our other branches, the Car and Van Centre at Kings Road, North Ormsby, and we sell carandvans.co.uk, located at 8 to 10 Longlands Road, Middlesbrough, near Liberties. For more information, call 01642 200 601 or mobile 07457 415 693.
The holy month of togetherness and sharing is upon us. Bring your family together with Elephant Atta, the nation's favorite atta for over 60 years. This Ramadan, Elephant Atta is offering special discounts on medium and fine white chapati atta, available in convenient 10 and 25 kg bags. Make this Ramadan one to remember with Elephant Atta.
Celebrate Ramadan with Dubai Restaurant. We are excited to announce our special offer of a 20% discount on all orders during this holy month. Dubai is the home of Peri delicious halal steaks and fresh barbecue, including burgers, lamb, ribs, and more. Enjoy our unique blend of South African spices and Southwest European heat at an even more affordable price. Don't miss out on this amazing Ramadan offer. Come visit us at Boho 6, Unit 1, Station Street, Middlesbrough, TS1 1ST, or call us on 01642 959 967. That's 01642 959 967 to learn more. Dubai, where every meal is a celebration.
CVFM Ramadan Live.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Sisters Circle live on Radio Ramadan this year. And this is our last Sunday show, and we've been talking to you about the future of Islamic medicine. So we are going to continue with that topic. And I mentioned that there was 3 kind of sort of principles that I really want to look at in relation to the future, the productive, positive future of Islamic medicine within our community and within the world globally as well. And, you know, if we look to what the Quran and Sunnah say about the protection and preservation of things such as seeds that we mentioned earlier before the break, plants, and then the environment, it will really help us, inshallah, to understand. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, if anyone cuts down a tree of the desert, Allah will direct his head into the hellfire. Now, what is meant by this hadith was later clarified by Abu Dawood, and he went on to explain it a little bit further. And he said, what it means is, whoever cuts a tree in the desert that the travelers or the cattle use for shade without a reason will be punished by Allah. Because, you know, the tree isn't just standing there for no reason. We have to see the whole picture of what a tree does. You know, it produces oxygen for us to breathe. It's shade. Animals will live in it. Ultimately, we can cut it down and make paper from it, furniture. It might be a fruit tree. It might hold water. Insects will make it its home. It's it's a million things in one, isn't it? So, we shouldn't take any of nature or our trees for granted in any way. And, this hadith explains it very well. And there's another hadith that demonstrates the importance of preservation of the components of the environment and the safeguarding of Allah's divine natural balance, because that ultimately is how the world survives, with balance. It's ultimately how we survive as human beings. Our health has to be in balance. And the Prophet ﷺ, he encouraged the planting in several hadith, such as this one, where he said, whoever plants a seedling earns a reward when any human being or any of Allah's creatures eats from it.
Yeah.
So, this is in a way sadqa jariyah for us as well, because if we plant a tree today, we might never live long enough to eat its fruit or sit in its shade. However, the future generations, children, grandchildren, and so on, trees live hundreds and hundreds of years if we don't knock them down. How many, if I went to a castle, actually I went to several castles last summer, and when you go to castles, they're normally in amazing surroundings, lots of hills or trees and stuff, and often they have beautiful gardens as well, with an array of plants that you wouldn't see anywhere else. And when you walk through these forests, and these forests are ancient in terms of England times, and you just have to walk through them and think, how many people have these trees seen, walk this path? How many different types of generations, people, wars, conquests, battles, robberies, people hiding, people living, births, deaths, so many. These trees have seen it all, because they've just been there for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. So obviously, if we plant one of those trees, and they live on for hundreds and hundreds of years afterwards, providing shade, shelter, home, fruit, all of these types of things, this is a sadqa jariyah for us. It's such a simple thing of, we literally have to walk around in nature's outdoor environment and just throw a few seeds. Nature will do the rest. The ground will open up and take the seeds in. The seed itself will start rooting. Allah will send the rain from the sky to water it. We literally have to just walk and scatter a few seeds, and we could at that point initially provide ourselves with sadqa jariyah long after we have passed away. It's so easy to do. And the Prophet ﷺ, he also said that if the day of resurrection comes while a seedling is in the hand of one of you, let him plant it. Which gives the emphasis and the strength on the importance of these seeds. And another thing to consider is that Islam forbids wastefulness with plants or with any other kind of resource. And in Surah 7 verse 31, Allah says, eat and drink, but do not waste by extravagance. Certainly Allah does not like those who waste by extravagance. And we waste too much, as globally our oceans are getting filled up with waste. There are islands that are now designated for dumping of waste from, poor islands that are nearby rich islands, and the rich countries have designated these islands as dumping grounds, and people are living there, and nature is being destroyed by our waste that is never gonna degrade. It's never gonna go away. It's just the more we consume, and it's excess waste. We are living in excess. We are living in extravagance, and Allah is saying, don't do it. Don't eat and drink. Don't waste, because look at our iftars, how they are becoming feasts, rather than fasting. All with the best intentions. If somebody's coming to our home and we want to give them an iftar, we want them to have choice. We want them to do these things. But so many people say things like, I don't eat like this on my own. I'm only making this food because I've got guests. If my guests weren't here, we'd be eating more simply. But the blessing of even feeding your guest more simply, and there's nothing worse than maybe he's eating too elaborately, then your fast is hard the next day. If your food was too salty, too garlicky, too fatty, you might get acid reflux, you might be thirsty, you might not be able to sleep, You might have heartburn.
We've all done it, haven't we? We've all laid there in bed going, oh, I wish I hadn't eaten all that.
and well, exactly. But this is a misunderstanding of the terms set out by Allah and by His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because they've told us how to fast. They've told us how to open our fast. They've told us how to begin our fast at Siri. They've told us what foods complement the fast. They've told us what foods to stay away from, and they've told us not to eat with extravagance and to not waste. And we're not listening. We're not doing it well enough.
Yeah,
we're really not. But clearly, as Muslims, we should be striving to protect and preserve our future of Islamic medicines by protecting and preserving of these plants and seeds. So this is number one, basically, the protection of plants, seeds, and nature. This is ultimate to the preservation of Islamic medicine. Without nature, we don't have any Islamic medicine, because Islamic medicine comes from nature. Secondly, on our list of things to protect is animals. So why animals? Well, again, going back to our Armageddon scenario and the loss of factories making clothes and shopping malls in which to go and buy them and restaurants in which to eat, and we have to do it ourselves. Animals will, one, provide clothes from the animal skins. Two, they will provide food. And in the instance of some animals, they will also provide medicine. So we have to look after our animals for this reason. An easy example to think of is the bee. The bee produces honey, which humans then use as medicine, both internally and externally. And the honeybee has been in danger in recent years, because people in their gardens are spraying so much more weed killer. As soon as they see the dandelions, they're spraying weed killer. They want the grass to be lush and green. So many people are replacing their grass with artificial grass, which doesn't obviously allow for any life whatsoever. In the team, and funnily enough, using the word Armageddon scenario and fake grass, that apparently fake grass would survive an Armageddon situation. That's how
fake grass and earwigs or something, isn't it? Or cockroaches.
So that's how kind of the level that it's at. It's good. It's not good for anything natural.
No.
But obviously, people in more gardens are spraying more weed killer. When you look at the grass that the councils look after, they come and they take all the heads off the dandelions, which is one of the first flowers that the bees will take their honey from. And they too are spraying, weed killer down in the parks to reduce things like that. And then obviously they're using so much more. What's the word? I can't think of the word now. It's gone from my head. They're spraying the crops with
fertilizers,
which is not good for the bees either. So bees are getting really, really damaged now, and we are at risk of in the future losing our bees. And if we lose our bees, the whole ecosystem will.
They weren't really sure why the bee population was dropping so much, were they? I know they were saying that there was a lot of these factors, but they couldn't really put it was probably a function of all of them, really, wasn't it? That there was just like, where's the bees going?
But where's nature going? Where's countryside going? It's okay, you can take a 5-minute drive from Middlesbrough and you will get into the countryside. But in the ratio of towns to countryside, it's getting less every year. And in terms of how much land the bees would have had to what they have now with us taking over is significantly less. So while you could say, well, there's still a lot of fields and so on, it's a lot less. And these fields have got chemicals being spread on them which are no good for the bees. So in terms
I think they're trying to have these corridors, aren't they, where they don't put any of the pesticides down, and they don't.
But is it enough?
Yeah, they're trying. They're doing something, but it's.
But is it enough? Yeah, and at the rate that we need honey as well.
We need honey and pollinators. So then, because the rest of the plants then don't flourish, do they? Because if they're pollinated by the bees,
which then affects further animal life, and animal life affects our life. It has a chain reaction.
It's a massive effect, yeah.
But honey holds quite a special place in Islamic medicine, and it's mentioned in the Quran as well as a healing for humans. And in Surah 16, verse 69, it says, "There comes forth from their bellies a drink of varying colour, wherein is healing for people. Verily, in this is indeed a sign for people who think." And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was said to have regularly started his day with a spoonful of honey dissolved in half a cup of water.
I did a little digging about how honey does its thing, actually. So it's a bit of science.
Go on then.
So honey is it's an anti-everything, really. It's an antioxidant, antibacterial, and it's composed of 2 sugars. It's fructose and glucose, and so it tastes a lot sweeter than like normal sugar. It's if you put it in a wound, because the sugars draw the water out of the wound, so it means that the wound then becomes drier, and you don't get as much the bacteria and viruses and stuff, and fungi can't infect the wound. So that's how that works.
Because they need the moisture.
And dark honeys, because it mentions the different colours, isn't it? Dark honeys have flavonoids in them, which are the chemicals that you get in plants that are extremely good for our gut microbiome. So yes, so they're it's antibacterial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, and anti-allergic.
Anti-ill health.
It's anti-ill health, basically.
Honey is amazing. It really is amazing. And even hospitals in recent years have started applying honey to some wounds or to burns as a means of like you said, stopping any infection getting into the burn without actually. The last thing you want to do if you've got an open wound is kind of put something on it where it's going to stick to the wound and cause a further infection, whereas honey wouldn't do that. Honey is just fantastic. It's such a mercy for us that we have it, to be honest. But after the example of the bee, we can consider the cows. Okay, so in Surah 16 verse 66 it says, "And verily in the cattle there is a lesson for you. We give you to drink of that which is in their bellies from between excretions of blood, and is pure milk palatable to the drinkers." So milk is it's the most beneficial drink for the body due to its valuable nutritional contents, but it's also really close to the nature of our body as well. Obviously, women have the ability to produce milk for their children, and the children would drink that. And it's narrated that on the night of Isra, which is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's night journey, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given 2 cups, one containing milk and the other containing wine. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he looked at them and then he chose the milk, and Angel Gabriel said, "Thank Allah who has led you to what is natural. If you had taken the wine, your followers would have gone astray." So this is such a significant kind of mention of milk, because wine, even non-alcoholic wine, comes from nature. It comes from grapes. It has roots in nature, but still
it's deliberately fermented, though, isn't it?
and it's sweeter in taste. If you've got a sweet tooth, grapes have that sweetness to it. Grape molasses is incredibly sweet as well. But obviously, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he chose the milk. And Allah gave him that choice of milk or wine, and he chose the milk. Didn't just give him the milk; he gave him a choice, just to emphasize the importance of it. And there's a really nice dua that we should use when we drink milk, and that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us. And he said, "Whoever Allah gives food, let him supplicate, 'Oh Allah, bless it for us and grant us what is better.' But then whoever Allah grants some milk, let him say, 'Oh Allah, bless it for us and grant us more of it, for I do not know of a more complete food or drink than milk.'" And on top of milk, when we're going to look at the whole example of the cow, we mentioned the skin can be used as clothing to keep us warm. The milk obviously is a nutritional food source. But as well as looking at those things, we have meat. The cow will provide for us meat. And red meat, very, very briefly, not going to go into too much detail. But when it's compared to, say, white meat, it's more fatty, but it has, so white meat is leaner, so to speak. But the meat from a cow The red meat is very good if you have something like anemia. It's going to help get your iron levels up. And it just gives overall strength, to the body. But the difference between white and red meat is quite significant. And actually, there's quite several hadiths where it was known that the Prophet, peace be upon him's household, would go several months, or as they used to say, several moons, without eating meat. So it wasn't something they ate a lot of.
Right.
But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did particularly like mutton, which is obviously from a lamb, and he particularly liked the meat that was close to the head, in particular the shoulder meat. So although he did eat it and it's good for you, it wasn't something again, it's going back to that ayat, isn't it, about eating in waste and extravagance.
Yeah.
So, meat was something they ate, but it wasn't something that they consumed daily.
Yeah.
But another mention of cows within the Quran, for example, is with Prophet Ibrahim. And in Surah 11, verse 69, it mentions about how when the two angels that were passing past Ibrahim, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, to give him the news of his son, and they were also going to go to the town of Lot to destroy the people of Sodom. And they came, and obviously Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam didn't realize at first that they were angels. So he had a calf roasted for them, because roasting a calf was seen as a superior, generous offer, that you had to have,
if you're a good host, that's what you
exactly
did. Yeah.
So the Quran says, it says, and he hastened to entertain them with a roasted calf, in Surah 11, verse 69, which again is relating to that instance where he roasted the calf for them. So obviously, the importance of preserving our animals, because they can provide for us clothes, they can provide for us meat, and they can provide for us, obviously in the terms of cows' milk, in the terms of bees, medicine. So our animals are ultimately, again, something in order to preserve Islamic medicine, for it to have a future, we have to preserve animals as well. And the last point that we need to preserve for Islamic medicine purposes is water. Our water.
Yes.
So, Allah says in Surah 21, verse 30, and we have made from water every living thing. Every living thing. And it's true, isn't it? Every living thing has an element of water within inside it. And we need water to sustain ourselves as well. Not only do we as humans depend on access to clean water, but that future, again, of Islamic medicine requires it. Because how can we make medicines if something is dirty, if something is dehydrated, if the animals haven't got access to clean water, they will be affected. If the plants and nature hasn't got access to, beneficial water, they will be affected. And then our stream of Islamic medicine, our health will be affected ultimately as well. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I said both, didn't I? I said both English and Arabic. I just realized what I did. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so he forbid urination in stagnant water for this reason. And science is now kind of discovering that many diseases are actually transmitted through this unhealthy habit.
Yeah.
And we're finding that within our sewage systems, our sewage systems are not the best, but they are what they are. But sometimes something can go wrong, and then that water comes back into our homes and we drink it. That's how we end up with certain outbreaks. And if we look at countries, third world countries, where this water system, cleaning system is even worse, the struggle for clean water is very, very real, and dirty water really does pose a threat to your life.
Yeah, it's a massive, if you're in a situation where clean water is difficult to get to, I mean, people walk, 10, 20, 30 miles to get clean water, and then they have to walk back with the water, carrying the water. It's the daily struggle of life.
And we take it for granted. We can turn a tap on.
Yeah, honestly.
But it's the problem with our rivers and lakes is that they've literally just become a dumping ground for industrial waste, for biological contaminants, which not only pose a danger to human health, as I mentioned, but to the health of the plants and the animals, which in turn affects our quality of medicines that we can make Islamically as well. So it all comes down to water. And the Prophet ﷺ also forbid us from wasting water. So again, back to that, don't waste food and drink, don't live in extravagance.
Yeah.
But there's a really nice hadith which talks about this. And one day, basically, the Prophet ﷺ, he found a man performing his wudu using too much water. And the Prophet commented, "What is this extravagance?" And the man asked, "Does this apply to water?" And the Prophet replied, "Even if it comes from a running river." And when we do our wudu, we turn the tap on, and our hands are not even under the water because we're busy wiping our arms at our faces. But how much water is passing between the tap and the drain? And we might think, well, it's okay, we have plenty of water, it's no problem. But as a community, as a nation, as a country, we only have so much water. So for every person that leaves a tap running or a hose pipe running that isn't being, of any benefit, somebody somewhere is having less water. Or at some point these hose pipe bans will come in, or these car washing bans will come in. And they don't necessarily need to happen if we just manage our water usage better. Put the plug in, fill up a vessel, pour from a vessel. Don't leave the tap. Have the tap running on a low stream rather than a fast stream. Little things make a big difference when you're brushing your teeth. Turn the tap off while the toothbrush is physically in your mouth, and don't have the tap running for that. If you're brushing your teeth via the dentist recommendation, which is 30 seconds per side and 2 minutes in total, if you had the tap running for 2 minutes without using it, but just running because that's just your habit, that's a lot of water. When we could, it's a second, isn't it, just to turn the tap off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes we don't even think about it. We're not mindful of it because we are very fortunate in this country to have an abundance of things like water coming out of a tap.
Well, we think we do, don't we?
We will.
But what actually, I was just, because I kind of talk to everybody in my work, and I've been, there was a guy that was he works for the Northumbrian Water Board, and he was saying that people don't realise, but like last year we had so little rain. There were just, Newcastle nearly ran out of water. Ridiculous, isn't it? But they were just like, it's just, and they don't, they have like the Kielder Reservoir, but in order to actually use that reservoir to turn the pumps on costs like something like £250,000 just to turn them on, and they're like, they just didn't want to do it, so they were just they were kind of, I think they call it reservoir jumping, where they're kind of pumping water from one reservoir into another to make the levels high enough so that the water then goes into the water system. It was absolutely run ragged, and you're just like, nobody even knows kind of that how often it's been teetering on the brink of like people running out of water. And of course, yes, as you say, if people just didn't run the taps quite so much, we could probably use half the water we do now.
I mean, if you consider wudu as an example, if they didn't have taps initially when wudu was prescribed for people before the prayer, they couldn't just turn on a tap. They would have filled a vessel, and they would have either had someone pour from that vessel for them, or they would have poured it onto their own hand and then used that part of water to do the wudu, and then poured a bit more and stuff like that. And in that essence, the amount of water would have been such limited. But also you have to think of the ease, or rather the hardship during them times to access that water. It meant going to the well, or imagine that you're in your little space and you realize, I haven't got enough water to do my wudu, but then you're going to have to get yourself covered back up again and go to the nearest well and wait your turn, lower your bucket, bring the bucket back up, go back to your space to do your wudu. It's not as easy as just turning a tap on and off.
You would realize it was such a limited commodity, wouldn't you?
So you wouldn't waste it because you really value it. But
absolutely,
in today's times where we can just turn it on and it's not thought about.
Don't even think about it, do we?
We don't even think about it.
We ought to think more about it.
But this again is that waste. If the water's coming to us, it's not going somewhere else, or as you mentioned there, to do with the reservoirs dropping and stuff like that. And obviously, think of a bigger picture. Fire engines are always going to need a level of water. If we have a water shortage, we don't want to be in a situation where fire engines can't access water.
Absolutely.
If you're you've been in an accident or whatever, and water is needed to clean your wound, you don't want to not be able to access clean water. in terms of animals, they drink from it.
Mhm.
We as humans, we need to drink from it as well.
Yeah.
There has to be a level of safety. And if we consider third world countries where they don't have access to clean drinking water, literally taking a mouthful of water is a life or death situation.
Definitely.
You need to drink it because to stay alive, but it could be infected with something
Mhm.
that it causes you to die anyway.
Yeah.
So it's
There's some very nasty parasites that live in water as well. They might not kill you, but they make your life a misery.
and again, obviously, in a third world country where you haven't got access to maybe it's the best medical care either. That's not what you want. And simple diseases that we can probably cure here in the UK might not be curable in some of these third world countries because they haven't got the practitioners or the people who can prescribe or the people who can treat.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing with a parasite, isn't it? If you're a good parasite, you don't kill your host. You just kind of,
you grow.
You just make their lives a misery.
Yeah, you grow. So basically, what we're saying here is that for the future of Islamic medicine, we need to preserve and protect seeds, nature of every kind.
Yeah.
And we need to preserve and protect our animals.
Yes.
And we need to preserve and protect our water.
We do.
Because without seeds, without animals, and without water, we have no Islamic medicine.
No.
And if we have no Islamic medicine, then
I
there's no
think
us either because we get ill and we can't treat ourselves.
Yeah, I think we're if we don't preserve those, that we're we've got big problems.
But ultimately, what I'm saying as well is, I know I keep saying, in an Armageddon situation, in an apocalyptic situation, and obviously we are talking worst case scenario here. But if that situation arose, and Allah does tell us in the Quran, there is going to be wars, there is going to be destruction, there is going to be these different things as we get closer and closer to the day of judgment.
Yeah.
And if the pharmaceutical factories do go down, if the cloth making factories go down, if all these industries go down, we are going to have to go back to basics.
Well, I mean, we've just 3 years ago we had a pandemic, didn't we? And I mean, it was at the beginning of the pandemic, we didn't know how bad things were going to get, and everything shut down. Now, had it been a little bit more lethal than it actually was, now I'm not denigrating the fact that a lot of people did die during the pandemic, but had there been, had it decimated the society, and had it been as deadly as Ebola, there wouldn't be any. We wouldn't, 3 years down the line, there wouldn't be any factories operating because there wouldn't be enough people to operate them. We've seen what can happen
when that chain's disrupted. Absolutely, which is more reason why we have to preserve Islamic medicine for the future. But in terms of how it's being used today, do you have anything for me?
I do actually, yes. So there's
it's becoming more and more popular.
Yes, absolutely. Because there's the substances that are used. So the things like black seed oil, for instance, and honey.
Black seed oil is amazing. Black seed oil is amazing.
Well, yeah, there was a lot. I found a lot of stuff. And the thing is that what's also happened is not only do we continue to use these substances like black seed oil and honey because Islam promotes them, but there has been, people are doing research on it as well to see, why this, why it works. So black seed oil has got this stuff in it called, now let me see if I can pronounce it, thymoquinone. Yes. Okay, so it's an antioxidant, it's an anti-inflammatory, and it's got, but obviously you couldn't just get a substance called thymoquinone and give it to people and have the same effects, because like honey and like a lot of other things, you get beneficial effects from mushrooms and things like that. It's not just one substance in it. There's lots of substances in them, and those substances together produce the most beneficial effects because that's how they're supposed to be together. But black seed oil can help with weight loss, so it can help people lose weight properly. It's very good for the skin. So if you've got skin conditions like acne, eczema, or psoriasis, it's very good for wound healing because it's an anti-inflammatory and it helps collagen formation as well. There's some evidence to suggest, now this is science that's been done on cells that have been removed from the animals that they've been looking at. So this is just cells in culture. So it's not to say that this would work in people, but they've discovered that it can influence programmed cell death, and it can be so it can help with certain kinds of cancer, maybe. So that's, you know, they're not saying that, you know, you want to ditch the chemotherapy and start with the black seed oil, but it certainly as an adjunct to therapies, it certainly couldn't do any harm, but it may well help things like that. So there's evidence to suggest that it might help, because it helps with these cells that have been experimented on outside of the bodies. And it's very good for liver and kidney, because it reduces oxidative stress. And it's very good for gastrointestinal conditions. Not sure why, but again, because it's complicated. It isn't just that one chemical. It's the cocktail of chemicals that are within the black seed, and it lowers blood pressure as well and can help with diabetes. So just that's pretty much everything that affects us, isn't it? That's sort of the main things that, you know, people suffer from. So that would be cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer. The only thing it doesn't look at is, or help with, is you know, the cognitive issues. But it looks like black seed oil would be amazing for all those things. Honey, I think we've covered honey anyway, didn't I? That we said it was very good for wound healing. And if it's dark, the flavonoids in it, that actually the plant chemicals are very good. And interestingly, there's some Islamic practices that have been adopted into the sporting world. And cupping is one thing that's been used by the athletes, particularly swimmers and gymnasts, and that seems to be they're the ones where their muscles take I know all athletes, their muscles take a particular pounding, but it seems that gymnasts and swimmers around the shoulders have lots of issues as well. And again, there has been some research as to what it actually does. So it increases blood flow to the area. This is dry cupping, though. It's not the one, because the Islamic one, because they sometimes cut your skin as well.
Well, Islamic medicine is it favors wet cupping, what we call wet cupping, which is where a small blade makes very, very tiny incisions and allows the toxic blood to leave the body.
Right. Okay.
But it does also have dry cupping, which can be used for like a physiotherapy style.
Right. Yeah.
Treatment, as you mentioned here, in terms of athletes, so it will help their muscles. So you wouldn't, the two techniques are very, very different. The wet cupping is specifically to draw out toxins from the body,
right?
And the body will only give out toxins if it has them. If there's no toxins, the body won't give anything out. So it's not as if you're going to take something out that needs to stay in.
Yeah.
The body will only give what it doesn't want in it. Dry cupping isn't designed to draw toxins together, but it's actually designed to relax the muscle,
right,
and to relieve the muscle of its tension. You know, when you get them knots, you know, and you just feel a knot in your
right,
in your back or whatever, and we call it a knot because literally the muscle has, if you imagine an elastic band and you pull an elastic band and you let go, it doesn't go back into the shape it was in. It does sort of go a bit back twisted, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
And this is what happens with the muscles. So when we say we have a knot in our muscle, this is what we were referring to, that the muscle's
hasn't gone back in the right position.
It's been overstretched, and when it's gone back, not overstretched, but over lengthened.
All right, okay, yeah.
Through a physical movement. That could be lifting something. It could be you've slipped and your feet have gone in opposite directions. Anything like that, where the muscle's been lengthened beyond what it should, and it's gone back perhaps too quickly, and it hasn't gone back to how it should. It's gone back a bit disformed and disjointed,
like a wonky slinky.
Yeah, a bit like that. And then what they do is when you go and see like a physiotherapist, for example, they may struggle to really get through the layers of the skin and everything else to be it, and they can't physically see which parts of the muscle. They can feel it, but they can't physically see. What the cupping does is it actually kind of puts the pressure on top of the body the muscle is partially sucked into the cup, which
Mm.
re-lengthens it
Right.
to how it was
So
when
it
it got
sorts it out,
injured,
yeah.
and then lowers it slowly back into place. So it
Ah.
allows it to go back into the correct place rather
Mm.
than this twisted place.
Mm.
When we perform a physiotherapy type of technique,
Mm.
we're trying to push the knot out. We're trying to push it back into place, but the cupping allows it to stretch back into how it was, and then
settle
relieve
back,
it back
right,
into.
yeah.
So it's very, very, very effective.
It's much kinder, isn't it?
On things like knots and stuff like that.
Because knots, if you have somebody like trying to get a knot out of your shoulder, flipping hurts.
It hurts.
It's like, oh, can you not do the knot? Yeah.
And
So-
dry cupping can be done so easily by anybody at home. You can purchase, for example, a dry cupping kit for maybe £20-30, and obviously, with wet cupping, you need specific training. I mean, with dry cupping you should as well, but you're not going to cause a complication like you would with wet cupping, because you're dealing with blood now, toxic blood as well, and you have to know how to dispose of it, and the center points and so on. But dry cupping, if you literally had a twisted muckle, what's a muckle? A twisted muscle, say like, your calf muscle or something, where you could quite easily put the cup on it yourself, put the cup on, allow the suction to take place, sit there for, I don't know, 10-15 minutes and take it off and repeat like you would with a paracetamol. And chances are, as long as it's not anything like majorly wrong, chances are the cupping will
so
help
as long as it's
relieve
not
that.
a torn muscle, yeah. All right, okay.
Yeah. So you would need much less knowledge to be able to do cupping on yourself, dry cupping on yourself.
Yeah.
To help relieve general aches and pains.
All right, okay. Yeah, so I was...
But sorry, back to the athletes.
So I was kind of seeing what it said about the kind of science behind it, and it said it increases blood flow to the area, which is what you said, and it said you get relief from soreness. So again, and it stimulates muscle activity again and decreases inflammation. So that's pretty much exactly what you said, wasn't it? And these are. So we're talking about these athletes. They were if they were at the Olympics, because you get naysayers that say that the body, their body's prepared for this event, and the only thing that's going to fail them really is their minds. So they'll cling on to anything, and so they kind of, it's all placebo effect. But I suppose that my argument would be that these days with these teams is that it's the teams that have prepared these athletes, they've been doing this preparation for literally years to come to this point where they're going to compete in this particular competition, and they wouldn't let something that was untested be used at the very last second. So cupping would be something that they would have used during the whole of that preparation, not just at the last second. And again, there's the science and the readings and the data that they collect from their athletes. They would know if it wasn't helpful in a material way, not just in a placebo type way, then it wouldn't be done. They wouldn't allow it to be done, because they don't, in these teams, there's nothing wasted, there's nothing extra, there's nothing extraneous. They only continue to do what the data improves things, and then they discard what doesn't, because they've got to, we're talking about elite athletes, and we're talking about a tiniest sliver of a percentage better than the person, the first is compared to the second. So everything matters.
Fraction of seconds.
Yeah,
in some
everything
cases.
matters. Yeah. So it clearly does help, because if it didn't, it wouldn't be part of the kind of team tactics, really.
I think what's worth considering as well is the recovery time from.
Well, if it improves the recovery time, yeah.
Not just the recovery time from an injury, but the recovery time from the treatment. So again, the recovery time from having a dry cupping session is very, very quick. There's no side effects.
You just have some lovely round marks on you, don't you?
You would get them more from wet cupping actually, but you would still get marks from dry cupping, but they would last maybe 24 hours if that. So if you were to watch the Olympics and you're watching the swimmers, for example, and I do his back photographed by the press
Oh, it's
because
Michael Phelps,
he
wasn't it?
had marks all over his back, and
Yeah.
the cupping was kind of brought to the
Yeah.
forefront of
Yeah, well,
you
Michael Phelps, because he's like the world records at the time, world record holder. I think
and
he was
people
holding
like, what are
5
these
world records or something.
I remember the article, the headline was something like, what are all these strange circles on the backs of athletes, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously as a Muslim you recognize what it is without even reading the article. But you know, for obviously the non-Muslims that have never heard of cupping, it was something
Like what?
new to them. And you know, if you think about, for example, anybody that's ever been for a sports massage, for example, where they really like pummel you, don't they? And you walk out and you're sore for a good couple of days before you feel that relief, because they've had to really get their thumbs into, you know, the muscles and into the knots and whatever that
deep
you've
tissue
had.
massages are
They're quite brutal, let's be honest.
not
There's
relaxing.
nothing relaxing about them at all.
No.
But the downtime is a couple of days.
Yeah.
And then once you kind of, that couple of days has passed and the soreness is gone, you will then feel the benefit of that deep tissue massage or that sports massage. And if anybody is listening and they've said, well, I've had a deep tissue massage and it didn't hurt, then you need to find somebody else because it hasn't been performed properly. But what happens with the dry cupping is it allows the same type of benefit, and it allows the muscles to relax and recover very, very quickly. But it itself doesn't leave you feeling battered and bruised like a sports massage would. So there are benefits and quicker recovery times from the treatment of dry cupping,
right,
as well. So as an athlete, if you know that your body needs help and you're going to go and have a sports massage, but then you know for a couple of days you won't be able to train because you're going to be battered and bruised, and you're going to have a couple of days out, whereas with cupping you might be back within 24 hours. That's a big difference as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And for training, that makes a massive difference, doesn't it? Yeah. So there has actually been some trials, or reviews of trials as well, from cupping as well. So there's again some science. These are quotes from doctors that work in university sports departments. So somebody was saying that cupping is a low-cost, non-invasive, overall safe form of therapy meant to promote natural body healing. But somebody else did say that it had very limited scientific evidence. But the evidence was there's evidence here that there was a review done in July 2014. So that's 9 years ago. There was 16 trials done. That's what they looked at, was 16 trials, and there was 921 participants. So that's quite a reasonable number of people, because some of these trials, you know, they say, oh yeah, this is effective, and there's been like 2 people or 3 people in the trial, and you're like, yeah, and you picked your people, haven't you? So this review said that there's a potential positive short-term effect of cupping therapy on reducing pain intensity compared with no treatment, heat therapy, usual care, or conventional drugs. So it was
so it fared quite well.
Better than, you know, just, you know, your normal painkillers or your non-steroid anti-inflammatories and things like that. Somebody else was saying that it's not well understood how cupping may work. It's also felt that a significant placebo effect may play a part in perceived and reported benefits of this ancient treatment. But as I kind of said last week, brains and bodies kind of, there's a bit of a more of a two-way street than you think, and you know, the placebo effect is, you know, you think of it and it's it has some negative connotations, like, you know, you can fool yourself into feeling better, but actually the brain can make the body better. So it's not that you're fooled into thinking you're better, but the brain can actually produce effects, you know, when it thinks there's going to be a benefit, you know, like that, the experiment with the milkshake. It was the same milkshake for the 2 groups, but one group was told it was high calorie and gained weight, and one group was told it was low calorie and lost weight. And there was no difference between, other than the fact that they thought that it was one thing or another. So, you know, it isn't that
well, it was just as you mentioned last week, in the history of Islamic medicine, it was Al-Razi, who was a Muslim physician, a Muslim natural doctor, should we say. And it was him that he stressed the importance of the will of the person, or the desire of the patient to get well. And he said that the person had to want to actually get well. or they were never going to get well, regardless of the treatment.
So I think the derogatory kind of, it's just a placebo effect. I think that that's, it's an effect, and just because the it produces an effect because we think it's going to produce an effect, it's still the effect, isn't it?
Definitely. With the dry cupping though, and you mentioned the studies and how there isn't a lot of studies that some have been done. This is the problem that we come across when we look at natural options or low cost options.
Yeah.
Because unless there's an amount of money to be made at the end, somebody doesn't want to use their own hard-earned money to pay for these tests and trials.
Yes.
So just because something hasn't been tested or they don't have data, we have to consider that if you know 100 people, and let's say 80 of those people say, I personally have tried dried cupping and or wet cupping, whichever, and I benefited from it. You're going to probably take a chance and have a go of cupping yourself because so many people that have recommended it, and you've got first-hand accounts of people, regardless of whether there's a scientific study or not. Lots of people immediately around you who are claiming benefit from this treatment. Now, that in a sense is a form of a trial, isn't it? It's just not collected data.
It's kind of epidemiological, like kind of anecdotal stuff, isn't it?
Because the problem, like I say, with doing a controlled test, where you then take in how old are my subjects, where are they from, what's their lifestyle like, what's their injury. This requires a big team of people to take all this data, to record this data. Then how are we going to perform the trials? Okay, this is going to be our process. That process has to be implemented. Then the data has to be analyzed, and then a report has to be produced, and it has to go, and they have to submit that report for approval, and so on. And then they might come back and say, thank you for the report, but however, we need you to test again because we need you to look at this particular angle, or we need you to have more people, or it needs to have more male and females, or so on. Can you do it again? And tests can be done several times before they're actually given any type of authorization to claim what they're claiming. But this costs a whole load of money. And
and we're talking like millions.
And if at the end of these trials, and you've been able to happily prove what you said you were going to prove, and then the world goes, fantastic, that's amazing. So we now have all this evidence from 10 years worth of studying and trials that cupping, in fact, does do what you say it's going to do. So what we'll do is we'll sell these cupping kits, and they cost $2.99 each, and people can just buy them at the local supermarket and do it themselves. No one's going to make any substantial amount of money.
And that's why
this is the problem.
Don't like your gold standard, your scientific double-blind trials are only really able to be done by drug companies who
have that initial finances,
stand to gain at the end of it by having a patent on a drug that nobody else can get, and they can charge the prices of some of these drugs is just, you can't even fathom it. A month's worth of an anti-cancer drug that might improve somebody or extend somebody's life by a month might cost like £400,000. It just like beggars belief, doesn't it? Really, and the drugs that people want to go back to, and use them for other things. It's very difficult then if they've come off patent to actually let. There's to find somebody who's got, it's usually philanthropic money that funds it, and you then there's a limit to the pot of monies that very rich people are prepared to go like, oh yeah, I'm going to invest my money in science and help science. It all boils down to money. It's there's a big trial. There's I don't know whether it's started in the US yet, but I think it's called the TERM trial, and it involves metformin, which is a drug that is used for diabetes. And it looks like from other studies that have been done that metformin actually might have some effects, longevity effects, so help people live a bit longer. particularly if they're not very metabolically very well to begin with. And the difficulties that the people who are organising this, are very high profile people in the field of longevity and what have you, just because metformin is off patent, and the medication itself costs buttons. So nobody's, it looks like nobody's going to make masses of money out of it. But it could, if they get the endpoints that they're looking at, it could, change, extend people's lives by, a decade. But it's such difficult, I think it's philanthropic money that they're actually having to rely on, because the drug companies are shying away from, they've got no interest, have they?
The problem is, though, that if you have a drug like metformin, for example, that may have what essentially is a side effect that causes you to live longer. But then it has another side effect that deteriorates your quality of health.
Yeah.
So then you don't necessarily want to live longer if your quality of life,
if you're miserable, looks like it doesn't do that, but
has been deteriorated as well. So we have to again make sure that balance is correct. But the only reason that people will chase things like longevity is because everyone just wants to live longer. Everyone wants to look younger.
I think
everyone wants to be 90 and look 50.
I think they want to live healthier. So you want your lifespan and your health span to be about the same length of time, because there's no point living to 100 if your health span drops off a cliff at the age of 50. So you want to be able to, if you're 80, you want to be able to, pick up your great grandkid, or play on the floor with your great grandkid,
or just take a shower unaided.
Yes.
Use the bathroom without somebody having to go in there with you.
Yeah.
That sometimes it's the simple things that we take the most for granted, isn't it? That we, it's all very well thinking, well, when I'm 80, I want to be still running up the mountains and skiing down the other side, and without a helmet on. But then if we can't even use the bathroom without somebody having to take us in there and help us do it,
I know that's the things, isn't it? And you have to look at, if you, I'm obviously going off on a bit of a tangent, but if you want to be able to, climb a flight of stairs with, a carrier bag in your hand, or
or even just without getting out of breath, perhaps.
Yes, if you want to do that at 80, the things that you have to kind of backcast to see, what kind of state or what kind of things you need to do to be able to preserve that muscle mass, to do that at the age of 80, what you need to be doing at the age of 60 and 40 is quite significant.
Or the things that you need to be avoiding at the age of 20, which is kind of the age range that most abusers themselves. Sort of the age range, kind of mid-teens to mid-20s is where the bulk of the damage is done.
Everybody goes, you only live once, and then
and this is where the bulk of the damage is done to both the brain and the body. That isn't then actually shown on the body until later in life, and at that point it's too late. And it's sometimes in your older life, you can do your best to make improvements and make changes, and you may obviously feel some benefit, but you're never going to undo completely the damage that you did when you were younger, when you thought it was,
when you're young and daft,
it was fine, and I'm going to live forever, and I'm always going to feel this able-bodied and strong, until you realize actually that the body isn't this indestructible thing, that it is going to start creaking and aching, and for no reason as well. And you're going to get to this point, and this is one of the really important factors of within Islam, is about when we abstain from things that Allah tells us to abstain things from, we as humans end up being better for it.
Absolutely.
As I mentioned at the start of the show, Allah tells us to stay away from smoking and alcohol, because smoking will take up the lung capacity and the alcohol will lower your brain capacity. Allah isn't telling us to stay away from things because he doesn't want us to have a good time, or he wants us to be miserable and not joining in with the fun of other people, but because Allah knows that these things are damaging to the body and will
very harmful,
alter our quality of life in years to come, will make us go from being independent to dependence again, will mean that we will struggle with our Islamic duties, our family duties, and our duties to even to our own self, just because we self-sabotaged when we were younger and didn't understand the teachings that Allah was giving us until we got older, and essentially in some cases too late. You know, and this is the importance of really understanding that when Allah tells us to eat these foods but stay away from these foods, to drink these drinks but stay away from these drinks, and then the quality of these things and the quantity of these things as well, the timings to do them, do this on the morning, do this on the night, do this on an empty stomach, do this with food. There are so many lessons in this information that, you know, if we as Muslims, we strive to read the Quran in Arabic, but we also should be striving to read it in our own languages, so that we understand because obviously not everyone as they hear the Arabic can translate it to their own language and understand it. So it's really important that to take time to sit and read the Quran in your own language, so that you understand, and that these messages and these lessons and these skills might reach you. You know, and Allah has, you know, the saying, you know, we plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. And it doesn't matter how many times you can read the Quran, you can read it from beginning to end, and you will really home in on certain things, and you'll take certain parts of it away with you. But then when you read it a second time, you will take different parts away. When you read it a third time, you will take different parts away again. It's like you're always reading a different book. You'll start to recognize, of course, certain surahs, certain chapters, certain stories, but things will stand out to you, and Allah does that to you on purpose, because He knows that you know, like with the Quran, for example, He didn't give it to Adam. He sent several books and several messengers and several prophets to bring the information slowly, because He knew that mankind needed that information as they journeyed. And this is our individual journey between us and the Quran now, that when we read it, that every time we read it, we will absorb something new, we will learn something new. So we may have read the whole Quran from start to finish and think, I don't remember mentioning anything about how to stay physically active, or what to eat, or nutrition advice. I don't remember anything about health advice. I just remember stories of the prophets, for example. You know, when it's your time to learn it, Allah will bring it to your attention, as long as you are striving to learn. That's the main thing. We have to strive to learn. You know, and it is important to read the Sunnah, to read the Quran in languages that we understand. And if we don't understand something, take that information to somebody who can explain it to us. You know, because it's not open to interpretation. We have to be really careful. We don't interpret all the stories to what suits us, but rather how it was meant to be. So it's really important that we take that information as well. So it's you know, the Quran is a lesson for us all. The Sunnah is a lesson for us all. And one of those lessons, amongst many, 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 many others, is the lesson of Islamic medicine.
Definitely.
How to maintain the body, how to maintain the health, how to maintain the brain as an individual, as a community, for our family, all of these things. It was written for all time, for every country, for every person, for every lifestyle.
Applies to all, doesn't it?
It applies to everybody. And going forward with our Islam, as I said in the beginning, I will just repeat it for a second. Bear with me while I find it, where it says the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, there is a cure for every disease, and if a medication overcomes that disease, then the patient is cured by the will of Allah Almighty. He also said, ask Allah for forgiveness and health, for after faith nothing is better than health. So we have to go forward with our Islam, but we have to go forward with our health. And to go forward with our health, we need Islamic medicine, and we have to have knowledge of that. We have to learn it. It's, you know, incumbent upon us to learn it. So basically, you know, if we think about it, the future of Islamic medicine is down to us. it's only the only hindrance of Islamic medicine is us.
Yes, indeed, yes.
Ultimately, Islamic medicine. If Islamic medicine dies, so do we.
Yes.
And it does not need us; we need it. At the end of the day, going back to our apocalyptic scenario, Islamic medicine has a stronger practical survival rate than that of allopathic medicine, as we mentioned earlier, just due to needing, if pharmaceutical factories were destroyed and stuff like that, we wouldn't have access to it. But as long as nature has survived, we have access to medicine. So there's a stronger chance of Islamic medicine outliving allopathic medicine in a apocalyptic style situation. Or if you were to get stranded, imagine, I don't know, you're in a ship, and your ship goes down, and you find yourself on a desert island, and no one lives there apart from you. But Robin Crusoe kind of thing. You've got access to nature. If you had the knowledge, you'd be fine. But if you were unwell and you were injured, and you only had knowledge of allopathic medicine, and you don't have the medicines with you, you
got no paracetamol, you're a bit goose.
There's nothing you can do. So that the importance of making sure that Islamic medicine stays with us is really, really crucial. But the big task here in doing that is knowledge, and making sure that us as Muslims preserve that sacred knowledge gifted to us in the Quran and in the Sunnah, and to learn it and pass those skills on to each other and to our families and to our descendants, our children, to keep that knowledge being passed down. We are absolutely 100% obligated to look after our bodies. They are an amanat, and what comes from Allah is returned to Allah, and we are also obligated to look after this planet. Everything we need to survive as a human race is in the Quran and the Sunnah, including obviously Islamic medicine and the rules for survival, the rules for the survival of the planet, how to look after it, how to look after the animals. If we just basically reflect more deeply upon it, perhaps as a suggestion, it's just a suggestion, maybe make the intention between now, this Ramadan, and perhaps next Ramadan, that everyone to just learn one natural remedy each, to make it and to use it. They're all very simple to do. Or perhaps a bigger challenge to congregate between family and friends, and everyone makes the intention to learn a different recipe to each other. That way, everyone knows a little bit of something. As we mentioned earlier, we can't all be good at everything. But if several of us try and learn little pieces, then we can all help each other out, and collectively we can keep these Sunnah and Quranic knowledge alive, inshallah. And Islamic medicine was sent for all times, for all people, all nations. And in Surah 20 verse 114, it says, "O Allah, increase me in knowledge. Rabbi zidni ilma." Oh Allah, increase me in knowledge. And this is a knowledge we have to learn for our own survival. So as I mentioned earlier, we have to look after the seeds, we have to look after the animals, and we have to look after the water. If we look after them three things, Islamic medicine will always be available to us, and we will always be able to sustain our own lives via the use of that Islamic medicine. If we lose those three things, and there was an apocalyptic event where we lost the pharmaceutical side as well, we are literally going to wipe ourselves out. So we need to get out of our own way and stop expecting somebody else to produce a pill. And we need to learn these Sunnah skills of looking after ourselves. Basically. So that's me for today. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
That's us for the duration of Ramadan, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So it goes so fast, doesn't it? I know some years we do 5 days, but some this year we've done 4. But you do the first one and you think, it's like Ramadan's going to be so long, and we're going to have all these programs ahead of us, and then wham, it's number 4.
And it's gone. It's gone.
Goes so fast.
And it's Eid prep now, Julie. All the prepping for Eid.
Yeah.
And which is always made difficult, isn't it? Because we never know which day Eid is going to be. And we have to rely on the sighting of the moon, which it's exciting, you know. Obviously both you and myself, you know, we moon sight locally.
We do.
And it's exciting to stand there and will we see it, won't we see it? But it's different when it's Eid, because you want to plan your Eid day, and you can't. And when you sight the moon for the other 10 months that we don't have an Eid, it's a little bit different, because it's like, oh, okay, never mind, we didn't see it. Oh, okay, we did see it. But when it's Eid, you want to know what you're doing. You want to be able to, well, which mosque am I going to go to? What time is it? Who am I going to meet? Who am I going to see? Can I get the day off work? Is it a weekend? Can I have a lie-in? You know, all of these different things that you can think about. And especially when you have, you know, families with children, and you try and inform the school as well. And oh, why are they taking this day off? You don't have the same day. What's happening there? And it's just you know, it's how Allah's designed it, and that's what we have to do. And it's you know, I'm not complaining in that sense. It's just it's that challenge, isn't it, of when is it going to be and stuff. And obviously moon sighting is I may as well touch on it for a minute, is a very, very, very important sunnah that is so easy to do, yet so many don't do it. So many have I think a lot of people, I know me personally, I didn't even realize I could do it. I thought that moon sighting had to be done by an imam or somebody with like a really high caliber of knowledge, or somebody who was understood astronomy, who understood the sky. I always thought, because when you get so used to, like, you know Eid's coming, and it's like, okay, let's wait for the announcements, and you know certain countries start announcing, certain mosques start announcing, and you just wait for that announcement, and you don't question where that announcement even came from.
Just that someone with knowledge knew the knowledge.
Exactly. You never you never, I never ever questioned personally, you know, for example, going back kind of like 25 years ago or so, and we'd have like Islam TV on, for example, and you'd wait for the announcement there, and the announcement would be on there before any of the mosques announced anything. So it was sort of, you felt quite good if you heard from that first. And you know, they would announce on that, and then you'd start hearing all these, the mosques, and people, family and friends would start ringing, it's Eid or it isn't Eid, and so on. And it never entered my head to question who's looking. Who is it that's actually doing the looking, and how are they looking? Are they going up Mount Everest? Are they in an aeroplane? Are they in an observatory? How are they even doing it? I just took for granted.
Are they in the space station?
In Mars. Are they viewing from Mars? You know, but I just took it for granted that somebody somewhere had the knowledge and, you know, that high caliber compared to me. Knowledge of how to sight the moon, and they would just let me know, and I'd go, okay, that's fine, thank you, I've got Eid tomorrow. Then it never occurred to me it was something I could do myself. And then several years ago, you know, I noticed that people were starting to do it, and I questioned it, and then they were like, oh yeah, it's so simple, actually, you can just do it like this. And I was like, okay. And then I joined in, and I was like, oh, this isn't actually complicated. This is so simple, and I don't need to be up a mountain. I don't need to be in an observatory. I don't need to understand the constellations. I don't need to be a hafiz of Quran. I don't need to be an imam. I don't need any specialist equipment. I literally need to go out on the 29th of the month, look towards the horizon at Maghrib time, and I may or may not see it. And it literally is that simple. You may not even have to go out. Quite a lot of people can see from the windows of the upstairs,
west-facing window,
if the upstairs of their home. If not,
well, you don't, do you? You sit in a bedroom, don't you?
I can see.
Look out your bedroom window.
I can, for most part of the year, I can see from my bedroom window. I would admit that in my prior home, I couldn't have seen it from my home at all.
House first,
because of buildings that were in front and blocking that view. So I would had to have gone out then. But from the home I have now, alhamdulillah, I can see, which is great in bad weather. I don't have to go outside. But it's still so easy, and you don't have to be of a certain caliber of Islamic knowledge to do it. It's a sunnah that we can all do, and it might take half an hour, it might take 1 hour, depending on the time of year. depending on if you've met other people or whether you're home on your own.
It might be, you might see it like, because just like the minute after sunset, you might see it.
Well, I did see it one year, Julie, and I was walking my children home from school.
Wasn't it in like, I think, because I saw it about the same time. It was because
It was really light.
It was November or December, wasn't it?
Winter.
Yeah. Because it was because I think you could actually see it just before the sun went down.
It was.
Yeah.
There wasn't a complete sunset and the moon was there because we were walking home, which would have been school time,
wasn't it? Yeah.
And we were facing the right direction, and I just happened to look up, and the sky was completely clear.
Clear
because
winter
we'd
skies,
planned to moonsight once we got home.
Yeah.
But we hadn't even made it home, and there was the moon.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just all you need to know is where to look, the time to look.
Yeah.
And that's it. That is all you need. And it's such an exciting thing to do, especially as an adult, but even more so if you have younger children, to rally them together and be like, look, we're going to go out, we're going to look for the moon.
See, our son's very good at it.
He's got eagle eyes, mashallah. He's got eagle eyes, mashallah. He's spotted it so many times before me. Or even when we've been part of a group, he's spotted it before the group. So, you know, mashallah, which is why it's good, I think, to have different ages as well, because, you know, people look differently.
Yes.
And people have got different, you know, variables of eyesight, so to speak.
Let's not go there.
You know, but it's just a fun thing to do. So a little challenge, I think, that to all our listeners is, if you haven't moon sighted before, or maybe you haven't moon sighted in this country, but you have moon sighted in other countries, is just moon sight this year. It's the 29th will be Thursday. And all you need to do is go out at Maghrib time, like just before Maghrib, see where the sun's going down, go back inside, perform your Maghrib, come back out and just look up and slightly left to where you saw the sun hit sun go down. That's it. And see if you can see it, because if you see it, it's exciting and your Eid will feel different.
Absolutely.
And, you know, be the one to announce to other people, I saw it. You know,
seen the moon.
So moon sighting.
Wasn't there a year when you were the only one in the UK that spotted it?
I wasn't the only. What happened was
because it was one of those cloudy sunsets, wasn't it?
It was a very cloudy evening, because there is a big notion that obviously, you know, you can't moon sight in the UK due to cloud, and it's not true. You can, because there's always little gaps and stuff, and the amount of time the moon has played peekaboo and it's come out of a gap. So it's you know, verily Allah rewards those who are patient, and when you're moon sighting, you have to be a bit patient. And Allah does reward us with seeing the moon in the gaps and stuff, and which is the importance of getting a picture as well if you can. But this one particular evening, it was quite cold and cloudy, so we decided to moon sight from home, and there was 4 of us, myself, my 2 children and my husband, and we were sort of juggling between getting the food ready downstairs and running up to the top window for the view, and we were kind of like doing a bit of a relay, the 4 of us, and always making sure somebody was looking for the moon. And then it appeared, as I mentioned, just within a gap, and it was there for about 10 minutes or so. So it wasn't like it appeared and it went immediately. It was there for about 10 minutes or so. I managed to get a picture of it, several pictures. I managed to do a live stream with New Crescent Society, although my phone wouldn't pick it up on the video, but I was able to show them where I could see it. And what happened was, there was only us 4 and one other family at the top of Scotland somewhere.
Oh wow,
in the whole country, because obviously it can't just be sighted by one person. It can't just be sighted by a female, that, you know, so obviously because my son sighted it and my husband sighted it, that was warranted as valid, and then myself and my daughter were there. And then the family up in Scotland, they saw it as well. So because there was 2 locations and there was enough witnesses and enough male witnesses, it was valid. But it just goes to show, you know, how challenging it can be if the weather is bad. But there are times when the night is clear and everyone sees it. So it's and that's how Allah's designed it. You know, Allah's designed it. You look on the 29th. If you see it, the next month begins the next day. If you don't see it, no problem.
Yep.
You have an extra day, and the first will be the day after. It's not complicated.
Yeah.
It's not complicated. But please, if you haven't moon sighted before, go and do it. And if you have moon sighted before, go and do it again. If you haven't moon sighted since you were a child, grab your grandkids or your own children and
Go
do
and
it.
again.
Thursday
Take
night.
snacks.
Thursday night.
Take snacks.
Well,
It's great.
well, you'll have to this time because it would be your iftar.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's taking snacks is great. It's very sociable, isn't it?
And another point of interest is basically, if you're not sure if you will be able to see perhaps from your home, because it is difficult moon sighting when you're fasting.
Yeah.
But if you're not sure if you can see it from your home, then you have tonight, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday nights to check different windows in your home.
Yes, to see whether you
in
see the
different
sunset,
directions to see which window will give you a sunset. And as long as you can see from one of your windows the sun going down, inshallah, you'll see the moon going down as well on Thursday, on the 29th.
Yes.
Don't look for the moon sooner, especially on Wednesday, because on Wednesday there won't even be a moon at all. It'll be completely black. And that hilal, inshallah, will either appear Thursday or it will appear Friday. We will see. Allahu alam. Okay, so Jazakallah khair, Julie, for doing another month of
it's been an
radio
absolute pleasure.
shows
Thank
with
you for
me.
inviting me once again.
And Jazakallah khair to the listeners, to the radio for giving us the opportunity. And I wish everybody a blessed Ramadan, what is remaining. Remember, finish strong. Even if you didn't start strong, finish strong. And if you haven't moon sighted, make that your intention for Thursday. And I'm going to take this opportunity to wish everybody the most wonderful and amazing Eid when that time comes as well, inshallah. And may we all return next Ramadan as well.
Inshallah.
And may our Ramadan be accepted, inshallah. Ameen. From, as always, anything that we have said that is correct and of benefit is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything that we have said that is misguiding or is incorrect, forgive us, because that is from our own errors and mistakes. Jazakallah khair for listening. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Ramadan Live.
For generations, Ahmed's Food Store has been serving the community with the highest quality halal meat, fresh vegetables, herbs, and spices. Our commitment to quality has remained the same since the day we opened our doors. We take pride in sourcing the freshest ingredients, and our customers can taste the difference in every bite. Did you know that Ahmed's Food Store was founded by the Mushtaq brothers in 1967? Their passion for quality food products and dedication to serving the community has been passed down through the generations. Today, we continue to uphold the same standards of excellence that the Mushtaq brothers established decades ago. So whether you're looking for a juicy cut of meat, a wide selection of fresh vegetables, or the perfect blend of spices, Ahmed Food Store has got you covered. Come and visit us at 6 Northcote Street, Stockton-on-Tees, or give us a call at 01642 676 636. 01642 676 636. Ahmed Food Store, your trusted source for quality food products.
This Ramadan, give your zakat and sadaqah in the name of Allah. With SKT Welfare, your donations transform lives, helping children go to school, providing safe water, protection in a safe haven home, and relieves hunger. For over 10 years, SKT Welfare has maintained a 100% policy, 100% zakat, 100% sadaqah, 100% lillah, 100% trust. Donate now on sktwelfare.org or call 0300 30 20 786.
Hello, Ellie here. Let me introduce you to Smoothprint.
Whether you need business cards, brochures for your startups, or posters to announce your grand opening, perhaps design a logo to further promote your business. We can do it all and much more in a record time and at affordable prices.
Smoothprint is your local professional design and print business specializing in shop signage and vehicle graphics.
Our team of professional graphic designers will ensure that your corporate image and values are shown in a memorable, charming way, while the state-of-the-art digital printing technology we use will impress your business partners and potential customers and will add to your competitive edge.
Smoothprint. Telephone 01642 688 400 or order online at www.smoothprint.co.uk.
Ramadan, Ramadan.
Celebrate Ramadan with Dubai Restaurant. We are excited to announce our special offer of a 20% discount on all orders during this holy month. Dubai is the home of Peri Delicious Halal steaks and fresh barbecue, including burgers, lamb, ribs, and more. Enjoy our unique blend of South African spices and Southwest European heat at an even more affordable price. Don't miss out on this amazing Ramadan offer. Come visit us at Boho 6, Unit 1, Station Street, Middlesbrough, TS1 1ST. Or call us on 01642 959 967. That's 01642 959 967 to learn more. Dubai, where every meal is a celebration.
नसीम, जब भी मैं आपके घर पर आती हूँ तुम्हारा कारपेट देखकर बहुत अफसोस होता है।
क्या करूँ परवीन जी, उस दिन मैं कारपेट स्टोर पे गई थी, वहाँ की प्राइसेस को देखकर मुझे रोना आ गया था।
बड़े स्टोरों की छोड़ो और ये रोना धोना बंद करो। बोरो कारपेट, जहाँ आपको अच्छा कारपेट बहुत ही सस्ते रेट में मिलेगा।
Don't pay big chain store prices. Choose Borough Carpets. Free fitting, free underlay, and free home samples visit. Super thick luxury carpets on sale now. Lots of colours to choose from. Your local independent discount retailer. Borough Carpets, 131 to 133 Park Lane, Middlesbrough. Telephone 01642 688 786. Borough Carpets, giving you the red carpet welcome.
Burgerlicious, the unmistakable taste of flame-grilled burgers right here in Middlesbrough. Burgerlicious offers tasty, affordable, made-to-order food sourced in the UK using local suppliers. We specialise in smash burgers, not just any burgers, but Angus, prime beef fillet, matured for days, as well as tasty chicken and fish burgers with options for vegans and vegetarians too. So why not get the real taste of mouth-watering food in a relaxed burger bar in the heart of Middlesbrough? It's not just delicious, it's Burgerlicious, and it's open 7 days a week at 242 Linthorpe Road, Middlesbrough. Call us on 01642 051 315 or visit www.theburgerlicious.co.uk to see our menu and place an order. Also, why not complete your dining experience with a visit to Chailicious, specialising in authentic Karak and Kashmiri chai teas and hot and cold desserts. Burgerlicious, home to the #1 smash burger specialist in the Northeast.
इस रमजान कहाँ से मिलेगा ताज़ा गोश्त, चिकन, फल और सब्जियाँ? आटा, चावल, दालें और तमाम मसाला जात, बेकरी का सामान, फ्रोजन फूड और किचन का तमाम सामान।
There is only one destination for your food shopping this Ramadan. Kashmir Food Stores. Visit us today at 115 Abingdon Road, Middlesbrough. Telephone 01642 242426. Kashmir Food Store, your food specialist.
The station that lives and loves Ramadan. This is 104.5 CVFM Ramadan Live. Ramadan Live.
Are you in need of a reliable property agent who can guide you through the complexities of the housing market? Look no further than Ashbrooks, based in the heart of Middlesbrough, with coverage extending throughout Teesside. Our experienced owners and management have over 30 years of combined wisdom in residential and commercial sales, letting and property management. We specialize in providing a hassle-free and smooth experience for our clients. As an independent agency, our focus is on forming lasting relationships with our clients. Our prices are competitive, and we promise to match our fees and to deliver superior service. At Ashbrooks, our customers always come first. You can trust us to provide you with a first-class service. To learn more about what we can offer you, visit our branches located at 124 Trindon Avenue, Acklam, and 134 Linthorpe Road, Middlesbrough, or check out our website www.ashbrooks.co.uk. Telephone 01642 213 213. Ashbrooks, your all-round property specialists.
This Ramadan, give your zakat and sadaqah in the name of Allah. With SKT Welfare, your donations transform lives, helping children go to school, providing safe water, protection in a safe haven home, and relieves hunger. For over 10 years, SKT Welfare has maintained a 100% policy, 100% zakat, 100% sadaqah, 100% lillah, 100% trust. Donate now on sktwelfare.org or call 0300 30 20 786.
वतन कंटिनेंटल फूड स्टोर, जिसके मचे हैं हर तरफ शोर। वतन कंटिनेंटल फूड स्टोर, रोजाना ताजा सब्जियां, फल फ्रूट, दालें, मसाले, तेल और चावल, ताजा हलाल गोश्त, चिकन, मछली, गोया, हर चीज की खरीदारी के लिए एक ही नाम याद रखिए, वतन कंटिनेंटल फूड स्टोर, 2630 नॉर्थ कोर्ट स्ट्रीट, स्टकटन, TS18 3JB, 01642 649 400। खानों में लज्जत चाहिए तो वतन फूड स्टोर में आइए। वतन कंटिनेंटल फूड स्टोर।
Craving some delicious fish and chips? Look no further than Fridays. We're proud to say that we serve probably the best halal fish and chips in Middlesbrough. At Fridays, we're passionate about great tasting food and excellent customer service. That's why we fry each piece of fish to order using only the freshest ingredients and pure vegetable oil. And with our 5-star hygiene rating and online ordering system, you can trust that your food will always be fresh and ready for you to pick up. So why wait? Visit us today at 11 Parliament Road, Middlesbrough, TS1 4JU, or order online at fridayschippy.co.uk. Don't forget to use our convenient click and collect system to get your food cooked fresh and ready for you to enjoy.
सलाम जनाब, अल मुस्तफ़ा सेंटर के बिल्कुल करीब पार्लियामेंट रोड पर फ्राइडेज फिश एंड चिप्स 100% हलाल ये खुल चुकी है। आप आएं और आजमाएं और ट्राई करें।
ओ चेयरमैन साहब, इस छकड़े की स्क्रब करो, कुछ चंगी जी गड्डी लवो।
यारा तू मी दस सस्ती ते चंगी गड्डी कुथू लपसी।
तुसी जाओ कार एंड वैन